And I'd like to, kind of talk about what has led to this point. As many of you know, I took a break in January, and that was due to directly as a cause of the LA fires. So these are my parents up on the screen. My parents, as you can, are well into their 70s, so they are they're elderly and have lived in the LA area for a very long time. Um, so they came to live with me in the wake of the Eaton Canyon fire in LA that affected a lot of people. Well, there were actually two large fires in Los Angeles. If you remember, there was the Eaton Canyon fire, and then there was the Palisades fire. Both of those are very, very large areas of LA, and it basically made my parents homeless, and they came to live with me here in Las Vegas. And I wanted I wanted to start with this picture to remind people that there are some very real people behind some of these algorithms and some of these decisions that companies make based on those algorithms. So I think that so many companies lose sight of that. This was my parents' home. It was their home for 25 plus years. They took a lot of pride in they excuse me. They took a lot of pride in being able to buy the home on their own. And unfortunately, this was the result of the Eaton Canyon fire. Their home was a complete loss. Very, very a few items left from the fire. Even large items like appliances or things like that were completely burned, completely destroyed. As you can see, I mean, really just very, very little things left aside from the foundation and a chimney. This is what used to be the front of the house. You can't tell now, but my parents had quite a bit of landscaping. But even things like grass and the rose bushes were completely destroyed in the fire. This is an example of one of the trees that they used that they used to have in their yard, and this is that same tree afterwards. And you can see also in the background, it wasn't just my parents, the entire neighborhood was destroyed. You can see that some of the homes that you could see in the previous picture are not there. The entire neighborhood, the entire cars, trees, really a large portion of the city that they used to live in was completely destroyed. This is a picture looking across the street from my parents' house, where you can see some of the neighbors' houses also were destroyed. If you look at this area here, that fence is visible in the previous picture. That's that fence there. So there was quite a bit of destruction, and obviously the home is a total loss. My mother recovered some of her um, planters for her pots that were left over, but that's basically. But that's it. That's it after living in that house for all that time. So these are the companies in question, and they're not alone. There's a lot of other insurance companies acting in the same unjust manner. But today I'm going to focus on these two companies. Now, why are there two companies? We're going to get to that. But my parents' insurance company is supposed to be the California Fair Plan. But they really haven't acted in an ethical manner. They haven't made my parents whole. And that's what I'm going to be using AI to fight. And again, to make it clear, my parents are not the only ones in this situation. They are doing this to other homeowners across Southern California in these fire areas. So I want to talk a little bit about the business and the AI ethics behind this, because that's really where a lot of this is rooted. There are real people and real situations behind these decisions that companies make. If you're from the US, you might be familiar with the United Healthcare situation. This is exactly where those types of things begin, in the poor decisions that these insurance companies make. And that really ties back to their own usage of algorithms and AI. And I think that what it comes down to is that a lot of these companies take AI and automation, and while they're passing off the work duties, the day-to-day duties, the automation of it all, they think that they're also passing on the responsibility. And they're not. They are still responsible for the results of using those algorithms. They are not absolved from that. And as we've discussed many times in my content, algorithms are going to be wrong. That's just the bottom line. An algorithm that is wrong, that is accurate 80% of the time, is still wrong 20% of the time. That's still 1 in 5. And 1 in 5 happens very frequently in streaks. That's not 1 in 5 is not a rare occurrence. So I'm trying to bring this to light to emphasize that these companies can't run away from the liability of that automation of those algorithms. Just because you call it AI doesn't mean responsibility goes away. So we could definitely get into the individuals that are involved in this. But the reality is that this is all a result of poor leadership. If you believe that leadership is something that starts from the top, the tone starts from the top, then you have to look at their leadership. And that's really what it comes down to. These companies are led in a very poor manner. In most cases by individuals that are sociopaths. That's been proven in many books. You don't get to be a CEO or president of a company by being a nice guy. That's the bottom line. So I'm placing this on the poor leadership of these companies. There is also a fundamental misapplication of algorithms across the board. It's dollar driven as opposed to people driven. Because in automation, what you're really doing is you're eliminating headcount. A lot of algorithms are doing that. If you really want to get formal about it, you'd look at it from a risk perspective, because that's how a lot of companies do it. A lot of companies have entire departments to manage their risk or to keep their risk in check, right? That's usually the function of risk departments or internal audit departments. So you have a legal risk, you have reputational risks, implementation risks, algorithm risks. And within the implementation risk, you also have a third-party risk.